#Ghana presents. Jack and the Beanstalk. Programmed by John Ferguson Aditi. Once upon a time, there was a poor widow, who lived in a little cottage with her only son Jack. Jack was a giddy, thoughtless boy, but very kind-hearted and affectionate. They were very poor. And when the widow saw that there was no means of keeping Jack and herself from starvation, but by selling her cow, she said to her son, "You must take the cow to market and sell her." Jack liked going to market to sell the cow very much, but as he was on the way, he met a butcher, who had some beautiful beans in his hand. Jack stopped to look at them, and the butcher told the boy that they were of great value, and persuaded the silly lad to sell the cow for these beans. When he brought them home to his mother, instead of the money she expected for her nice cow, she was very vexed and shed many tears, scolding Jack for his folly. He was very sorry. And mother and son went to bed very sadly that night. Their last hope seemed gone. At daybreak, Jack rose and went out into the garden. At least, he thought, I will sow the wonderful beans. So he took a piece of stick and made some holes in the ground, and put in the beans. That day, they had very little dinner, and went sadly to bed, knowing that for the next day there would be none. And Jack, unable to sleep from grief and vexation, got up at day dawn, and went out into the garden. What was his amazement, to find that the beans had grown up in the night, and climbed up, and up, until they covered the high cliff that sheltered the cottage, and disappeared above it. The stalks had twined and twisted themselves together, until they formed quite a ladder. It would be easy to climb it, thought Jack. Jack instantly began to climb, and went up and up, on the ladder like Beanstalk, until everything he had left behind him, the cottage, the village, and even the tall church tower, looked quite little, and still, he could not see the top of the beanstalk. After climbing higher and higher, Jack at last reached the top of the beanstalk, and found himself in a beautiful country, finely wooded, with beautiful meadows covered with sheep. A crystal stream ran through the pastures. Not far from the place where he had got off the beanstalk, stood a fine, strong castle. Jack wondered very much, that he had never heard of, or seen this castle before. While Jack was standing looking at the castle, a very beautiful woman came out of the wood, and advanced towards him. Jack made her a bow. "If you please, ma'am," said he, "is this your house?" "No," said the lady. "Listen, and I will tell you the story of that castle. Once upon a time, there was a noble knight, who lived in this castle, which is on the borders of fairyland. He had a fair and beloved wife and a lovely little boy. He had many treasures and a monstrous giant, who lived at no great distance, resolved to obtain possession of them, so he killed him one night while he was sleeping. Happily for her, the lady had gone with her infant son to visit her old nurse, who lived in the valley. The lady had what had happened, and she decided to remain at her nurse's house as the best place of concealment. Years rolled on. The old nurse died, leaving her cottage to her poor lady, who dwelt in it, working as a peasant for her daily bread. Jack, that poor lady is your mother. This castle was once your father's, and must again be yours. Jack uttered a cry of surprise. My mother, oh, madam, what ought I to do? My poor father, my dear mother. Your duty requires you to win it back for your mother. But the task is a very difficult one, Jack. Have you courage to undertake it? I fear nothing when I am doing right, said Jack. Then, said the lady, you must get into the castle, and if possible, possess yourself of a hen that lays golden eggs, and a harp that talks. Remember, all that giant possesses is really yours. As she ceased speaking, the lady of the red hat suddenly disappeared, and of course Jack knew she was a fairy. Jack determined at once to attempt the adventure. So he advanced, and blew the horn which hung at the castle portal. The door was opened in a minute or two, by a frightful giant with one great eye in the middle of her forehead. As soon as Jack saw her he turned to run away, but she caught him, and dragged him into the castle. You shall be my boy, she said. You shall clean the knives, and black the boots, and make the fires, and help me generally when the giant is out. When he is at home, I must hide you, for he has eaten up all my pages hitherto, and you would be a dainty morsel, my little lad. While she spoke, she dragged Jack right into the castle. Come here, child. Go into my wardrobe. He never ventures to open that. You will be safe there. And she opened a huge wardrobe, which stood in the great hall, and shut him into it.